They want stability, and the only form of stability that several generations of Egyptians have had has been in the form of the military.
For now, like it or not, the military seems to be playing a central role in post-revolution Egypt, where establishing democracy is still the stated goal. But the path to getting there isn't always democratic. Reza Sayah, CNN, Cairo.
Spain has declared 3 days of national mourning following a train crash that killed 80 people and left many others injured. The driver of the train remains in police custody and helping investigators to ascertain the cause of the derailment. CNN's Carl Penhall brings us the latest from the crash site.
Few minutes actually from the forensic experts who are examining the bodies and the human remains found at the crash site. They say this has been a painstaking task, and they say that still there are 6 of the 80 victims still to be identified, and they say because of the state the bodies were found in, that's a job that could take days or even weeks in their words. But on the other side of the coin, the CNN team has been talking to one of the survivors from this crash, a young American, Stephen Ward, an 18-year-old from Utah, and he had this to say about the crash.
Basically, I was writing in my journal. I kind of looked up and saw the speed and thought, oh, that's funny. I thought it might have been an error or something. And then we went around a sharp turn, and all of a sudden, like, you could tell one set of wheels left the rails. We were kind of just riding on one set of wheels for 2 or 3 seconds. And there wasn't really screaming. Most people were kind of like, oh, but no one got super scared about it. A few things of luggage started falling off the racks, and then after 1 or 2 seconds, you could feel us leave the other set of tracks, and the whole train rotated about 90 degrees, and I blacked out before we hit the ground, which was very lucky for me, and the next thing I knew, they were helping me out.
That young American was certainly one of the lucky ones, because 1/3 of the passengers on that train were killed almost instantly. But yes, now investigators still working away to find out what they can to try and clear up some of the question marks over why one of Spain's worst train disasters occurred.
We now take a second break. Welcome back. Back in 2012, Gambian football faced what turned out to be a massive change in the administration of the country's football. Barely 2 years after that painful process of normalizing Gambia football, stakeholders are entering a new and more exciting future with the July 31st election of a new president of the Gambia Football Federation. In first of a series, Babakar Senghor chronicles events that led to the formation of the normalizing committee and what tasks facing the next elected executive.
Began the process of normalizing Gambian football. Back in the spring of 2012, the country's football was somewhat divided. In less than a week, the committee will embark on its final act, leaving behind a football fraternity that are still to find common consensus in building a more viable institution. Gambian football has rarely been in such state, thanks to a plethora of factors and influences which threatened to tear apart an institution that brought so much joy and unrivaled unity in forging a collective direction to achieving what has become an elusive search for football success. But it was never meant to turn out this way, for when the Ministry of Youth and Sports announced the dissolution of the then Gambia Football Association executive in March 2012, the act divided opinion, but football is that emotive game that sorely divides judgment. There were those that felt it was the right idea, since the Sidi Kinte-led executive could not replicate the successes of the heady days of the first period of his tenure, when the Gambia's standing in international football soared uncontrollably. That successful period brought another continental conquest, as the under-17 miraculously triumphed in Dar el Beida, winning the country's second continental trophy. The senior team led by Belgian Paul Pot took the country's collective aspirations to new heights, with challenging performances in Dakar. Things veered off the rail when 24 months later, the heroics of Dakar were replaced by the disappointment of Windhoek. Kinte and his executive's position began to look untenable and were duly forced to resign for a fresh start. A fresh start, an injection of new and better administration, brought in two of the most influential father figures back in the administration of Gambian football. But the vast majority of the country people were disillusioned by that move. The argument put forward by this group has been firmly placed in the context of continuity and the basis of the legality of the decision. After much wrangling and after many settling between Banjul and Zurich, FIFA came to the rescue. Gambia, after all, would not be suspended by the World Football Governing Body. The July 31st GFF election will certainly mark the end of a turbulent period in Gambian football and the opening of a new chapter, a moment of historic significance when one of two new faces, Steve Biko Football Club's Mustafa Kebe and Modou Musa of Young Africans, aim to become the president of the Gambia Football Federation. The winner will have his hands full with a number of critical issues to tackle, none more so than to pepper the cracks which emerged during the past 16 months and the disagreements which characterized the lead-up to the Adoptive Congress and the one that is surfacing ahead of the 31st July vote. The two candidates have been busy outlining their vision for the new GFF. There are echoes of excitement and genuine hope in some quarters, but for others, the time is ripe for a complete break from the past and the dawning of a new era in Gambian football administration.
That Gambian football is currently at a crossroads. You are aware that there was a dissolution of the executive, a normalization committee was set up to normalize football. And right now what is being looked at is people that are capable of handling Gambian football. And
it is an open secret that our football is sick at the moment, and they therefore need somebody who has a talent in effectively mobilizing people, building a team, a leadership team that is going to shape and change the way our current football, the current status of our football is.
But the Gambia and its football will require a lot more than a carefully choreographed vision. This election is not to choose between Modou Musa and Mustafa Kebe. It is not a forum to end the term of the normalizing committee. This is an election to provide for a complete change in the direction of Gambian football, a significant moment to find a group of people, not an individual, who will collectively map out a complete restructuring of our football. And the cornerstone of this upward movement will center on the institutional and infrastructural development of Gambian football. This is a game-changing moment in our football development, a moment that requires razor-sharp scrutiny of every member of either candidate's team. For Gambian football cannot take one step forward and at the same time backpedal 10 steps up the track. The Gambia Football House, one of the enduring legacies of the most stable years of Gambian football, can only enjoy its past glory when its new occupants are vetted and deemed qualified to run the affairs of the beautiful game in our beautiful country. For Grts Sport, this is Babukar Senghor.
And before we go, a reminder of our headlines. The Kanefe municipality component of the multi-million-dollar EU government drainage, sanitation and waste management project has taken off the ground on Tuesday. Sheikh Zayed Eye Center has graduated 32 eye specialists after a year-long diplomat and advanced diplomat programs. Egypt divided, thousands have stormed Tahrir Square to show their support for the Army General Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, but calls by the pro-Mursi faction for his release still rumbles. And the Spanish government has declared 3 days of national mourning as the death toll continues to rise in the wake of one of the deadliest train accidents in Europe. That brings us to the end of the news. Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned to GRTS and enjoy the rest of our programs.